My name is Erika Dickerson-Despenza. I'm one of the playwrights for New Black Fest 2019, and I'm going to be talking about my play, Hieroglyph. It is a drama about a 13-year-old black girl named Davis who, alongside her father Ernest, is a Hurricane Katrina evacuee. And so they were put on a plane and not told where they were going and landed in Chicago. And so this is 2 months post-Hurricane Katrina and the subsequent flooding. And Davis is in this brand new city that she's never been to in the Midwest, navigating the Chicago public school system while carrying the secret of an assault that she experienced while taking shelter in the Superdome. I was reading every play I could get my hands on that took place in New Orleans or was about New Orleans during Katrina or about post-Katrina life. And what I found was that every play that was published, at least, and commissioned and performed was written by white men, was written by white women, and the few that were from the perspectives of writers of color were from writers of color who had no connection to the city and or had not visited New Orleans post-Katrina. And so there was this large gap in the Katrina plays where black women weren't included, black women's voices as writers, centering black women's narratives, and considering that New Orleans is a very black city, that just felt like such negligence, such an absence. And so I decided I was going to write a 10-play Katrina cycle to help fill that gap, to really tell the stories of black women who survived and did not survive the hurricane and the state-sanctioned man-made disaster that we know as the flooding, and really explore the Katrina diaspora in and beyond New Orleans and how the disaster and environmental racism and displacement and gentrification all really affect black women's lives in and beyond New Orleans, and how those effects ripple in and beyond that city, across the nation, across the Katrina diaspora. On one hand, when I think about the conversations around sexual violence, I think in the way of Black progress, we're having the conversation more widespread within the Black community and beyond. And that is beautiful and necessary. It's also late, but I'm glad we got there. We're getting there, right? It's a process. I'm seeing us, to some degree, actually begin to listen to survivors. Again, we're not fully there yet. We've got some work to do, lots and lots of work to do. But we're starting to have these conversations. We're seeing them in Hollywood, where we have Time's Up. We're seeing them in commonplace organizing communities with Me Too movement. But at the same time, we're still seeing the erasure of black women in those narratives, black women who are not celebrities, black women who are not deemed desirable by mainstream beauty standards. We're seeing the erasure of black girls who are, as we often hear, hidden in plain sight. We're seeing still, just the commitment to perpetrators and disbelief within pockets of our community regarding Cosby or R. Kelly. And so in those ways, we are still burdened by disbelief of survivors. If you know anything about my work, you know that my plays feature exclusively black women as the entire cast. And so having a male character who identifies as a man is a new thing for me, and a rare thing for me. But in this play, I was really interested in exploring what I felt like was and is an absence in the larger conversation of sexual violence within the black community, and that is the relationship between black fathers and black daughters. And I'm not talking about a case in which the black male father is the assailant, is the rapist of the daughter. That's not what happens in this play. But how do black fathers engage their black daughters and their black sons, right, in conversations about sexual violence? How do you broach the topic? How do you listen well? What do you do if your child has had this experience? And then also within your Black male body, within your experience as a man, how do you navigate your own participation in rape culture? And so I was interested in that particular piece of the conversation. I was interested in looking at assault not just from a Black woman's perspective, and there is absolutely that in the play, but what about our girls? For every Black woman that reports her assault, there are 15 who don't. And within the Black community, Black women have reported that they've experienced some form of sexual violence before the age of 18. And so in that way, I'm addressing the erasure of our Black girls, I'm addressing the erasure of Black fathers and their daughters in this conversation. And also the erasure of the children of Katrina, which is on my heart all the time. I am inspired by my foremothers, Zora Neale Hurston and Ntozake Shange, Lorraine Hansberry. I'm inspired by living legends and big sisters like Toni Morrison and Katori Hall. The conceptual preoccupations of my work are Afro-surrealism, magic realism, narrative rememory, and emergent strategy. And so I am always looking to resist Black feminine erasure in my work. I am committed to showing Black women as kaleidoscopic instead of monochromatic, and looking in the canon of works that exist and finding where the holes are in our representation and filling them with more prismatic images of Black women, more complex, more daring, and more real.